Welcome back to Church Production. I'm Marcel Patillo. Does your church ever have a hard time finding enough volunteer camera ops? Or maybe you record in a room where it'd be really distracting to have a fully built out camera on a tripod. Or maybe even there's places where you'd love to hide a camera that's small, high quality, and reliable, but doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. In all of these situations, a PTZ camera could be the perfect solution. And we've been working with Worship Center in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Telycam to get a good look at Telycam's Vision Plus 4K-N. But before we get started, give this video a like and subscribe to the Church Production YouTube channel.
My name is Ethan Ballantyne. I am the live video director at Worship Center in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I've been in this role for almost four years now, I think. I've been at the church since 2013, but I was in the content creation role for a total of 6 or 7 years. But now I've been doing live production for a couple years now and really enjoy it. Our main auditorium seats just over 1,400 people on a Sunday, and we do 2 services. My team, typically we have 5 volunteers running camera. We actually have 6 cameras available. The 6th camera is just usually a static shot on stage. We have a Dana dolly, like a slider shot moving back and forth. We have a static camera, that's our follow cam, we would call it. Then we have our, I want to say it's a 26-foot jib. It's really fun to have that flyover shot, especially if you're watching online or in one of our common spaces here at the church.
So while Worship Center has great live production, for their live stream, recently they've been using the Telycam Vision Plus 4K-N, which is a 4K PTZ camera that can go all the way up to 60 frames a second. It has a 12x and 30x optical zoom, and it even has a built-in auto tracking function. And the video interface supports SDI, NDI, HDMI, as well as USB-C. On paper, this is a phenomenal camera, and I was anxious to hear Ethan's first impressions.
When I opened up like the main boxes and I saw the branding on these, I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice. Like that caught my eye right away. I'm like, they're doing a good job here. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like matte black production gear. So when they came out of the box, they looking nice and clean. Just taking a look at the, the body of the Vision Plus 4K PTZ camera, there's no buttons on it really, just your connecting SDI, HDMI network and power on the back. So it looked like, okay, everything's going to be built into this controller. And it seemed pretty straightforward to use. The buttons are laid out well. Obviously, you have your joystick for manual control. We got to the PTZ Vision Plus 4Ks. I used it first for an event in August. We do a pretty large production for it. So I thought it'd be nice to have a camera that's on stage that I could move and reposition for, that we could put on our LED wall that's on the stage. Trying to match the color, saturation, all that. It worked pretty great, actually.
When filming in a church service, you're usually filming in low light with a lot of bright lights flying all over the stage. So there's 2 things you usually want to look out for when purchasing a camera for your church. And one is, can it support the low light without a lot of noise, as well as does it have a large dynamic range? So you can get details in the shadows, as well as not get a blown out image when the lights pan across the camera. And for this, the quality of your camera sensor becomes everything.
To be honest, I had low expectations going into using a PTZ. Now that's based off of the PTZ we had here. We always had issues getting color, contrast, exposure right for the room. But honestly, I think I was pleasantly surprised by the quality. I mean, it does output 4K, which is great. Typically, you see a lot of compression on these cameras. These sensors are a lot smaller typically, but I think this camera sensor is up to par. You can expose them well. There's not a lot of added noise. A little bit. I mean, that's expected with PTZ cameras. When you use a PTZ like this and you can see details in the shadows and your highlights are not overly blown out, that's signs of a good quality camera and sensor. We could capture footage that, you could see the detail. You weren't distracted by blown out highlights. And it came out pretty clear, and I was pleasantly surprised.
So of course, lastly, we had to ask Ethan, what type of church or situation do you see these PTZ cameras being perfect for? Because of course, not every high quality camera is made for every situation.
In a setting where you don't have a lot of volunteers and you need cameras to cut to, I think PTZs are fantastic. Having a controller where you're sitting in a control room, maybe somewhere really far from the auditorium, and you can craft all your shots and cut them, you could almost have one person in that position. What interested me was in these PTZ cameras is in some of our smaller spaces. So our student ministry auditorium, our kids auditorium, somewhere where we don't have as many volunteers or it's a smaller space and we can't really fit these larger cameras. PTZs just sounded better for the end result, I guess. And getting, unique shots that, would be kind of difficult to get a large camera on sticks or another support system somewhere on the stage.
So I've got to say, even though I work at a church with 10 cameras in the sanctuary and we usually have enough camera ops, it would be so nice to have something like this to match with the other cameras, but to put in some really nice, tight spaces, or maybe even to hang under the balcony or in the ceiling or even in the rigging on the stage to get these motorized great shots that you can get with something like a PTZ. So a big thank you to Telycam as well as the team at Worship Center for giving this a shot, implementing it into your system, and giving us your insight on what we can look forward to out of the Telycam Vision Plus 4KN. For now, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the Church Production YouTube channel, as well as check out churchproduction.com for new articles and insights on everything church production. As always, I'm Marcel Patillo, and I'll see you all in the next one.